there's an interesting fundamental contradiction that goes on. We employ people on the basis of experience and ask them to use their judgment and pay them for it. Yeah? It's called more money for going up the management ladder. And we insist on measurement systems that are full of quantitative measures. There's no element of judgment in them. Isn't that a little bit odd? I just want to bring out this whole thing about learning. The strategy map is about strategy. How do we as an organisation choose what to do? Set by the context of where do we want to go. The balanced scorecard, the scorecard part, all of this gets called the balanced scorecard. So this scorecard part is about operational performance. Okay? Organisational learning, Chris Argylis, double loop learning. Here's your closed loop, here's your second loop. What is the strategy and what are we choosing to do? And it's informed by what's in the outside world, excuse me, and if you want to talk about risk quickly, here's the risk in the outside world, here's the risk of whether your strategy is going to be implemented or not, and here's where your risk of operations is, yeah? Makes sense, 3 different levels. Okay? Second order. What's our strategy and how do we operate it? You're also making decisions about how you manage performance. The culture you create around this is also here. Yeah? And what you communicate, that's why I've got a book called Communicating Strategy. It came out of this. And when somebody asked about leadership earlier, let me show you a very simple way of looking at this. You take that off, and that off. This bit is management. If you cover the whole of the middle and leave values, future and environment, you get leadership. Creating the space for people to perform, management's making sure they do it. Does that make sense? I could do 45 minutes or 2 hours on that one slide, but I won't, because I slipped it in quickly. But I think it's an important context, yeah? I'm going to try a simple experiment with you to show why you shouldn't start with measures. Is anybody any doubt that if I asked them to open their wallet or purse, they could count the amount of money in there? You could easily, couldn't you? No doubt about it. If you wanted to count the number of people in here, could you do it? Absolutely. If you wanted to count activity, you know, how many cups were drunk, how quickly you got back here, no problem at all, eh? Skills, we're getting onto something a bit softer, aren't we? Okay, I did this first of all at a conference of alliances and partners. Now I'd like, this is really important, this next bit. I'm going to ask you 3 questions. Please no one shout out any answers out loud. You'll see why in a moment. I'd like to think of your husband, wife, lover, partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, mistress, whatever. Yeah? How would you measure, don't answer this out loud, how would you measure they were being unfaithful? Okay? Again, don't answer these out loud. Second question. How would you know they were being unfaithful? Again, don't answer it out loud. Third question, how would you make sure they never were? Now, you will have realised what I'm doing. The first one is about measurement. I've done this with an audience of about 400, and it's really amusing to watch them. Because on the first question they go, the answer's up here, and their eyes roll up and they go, oh, I've got answers. There's a little bit of a, first of all. Then there's a, oh, I'll go and get a measure. You can see them doing it. Then they'll go, well, I've got something, but you know, it's not that good. On the second one, people tend to go, okay. And you see it in the audience. So the eyes don't go up, they go down a little bit. What people are doing are checking their body, because they know things. And the third one usually creates a sort of ripple of laughter. Yeah, I know. The third one's about management. So the first one's measurement, the second one's judgment, the third one's management. Now, isn't it those last two far more useful than that first one when it comes to that? Because that measures are usually quite ridiculous. Now, one of the other problems with measures is that this diagram is very simple. The top half are policymakers, the bottom half are policy implementers. So you can think of it as management and staff, you can think of it as central government and local government, head office, local, whatever. Somebody comes up with a policy, decide what they want, and they go, well, I'd better give them the measures as well. They go, then I'll communicate the measures, because that's what I need to tell them. So people at the bottom then have to do what I call the mind read, which is what on earth did those guys who were in that room for an hour, or who wrote that policy document, what were they actually thinking? Because I've just got a load of measures that I've got to work. Yeah? And sometimes it comes down with targets, because some people are pathological target setters. Yeah? Now there's a nice variation of this, the public sector variation, very popular in the UK. You decide what you want, you choose as many measures you want, and everyone absolutely has to have a target. Yeah? Because of course we have a, it's important. You couldn't possibly have a fact. You couldn't just possibly be wanting to find something out to see what the situation is. No, you have to have a target. You give people multiple measures, you let them work out what it is, and then you blame them for failure to achieve them. Okay, careful, that really last bit is really important. It's your fault for not achieving the measures that we've set. And of course, if those measures aren't working, it's a bit like firing a gun. You keep firing a few more measures on top of them, because obviously that will clarify things, won't it? Yeah? You recognise this?
Oh my God.
Now, notice I'm doing three things. One is I'm talking about measures, I'm talking about objectives, and I'm talking about culture. A colleague over there asked earlier, I've got this problem. I've either got too few or too many. The answer is, apologies, but I think that's one-dimensional thinking. You actually should be talking about objectives first and communicating them, and thinking about culture, 3 dimensions. So if we take this third one, it's the same diagram, but I want you to communicate the objective so people get it. And that gives people the chance to say, you know what, I understand what you want, and now I understand what these measures mean and what you're trying to do. And actually, here's a better one. And the cultural context also has to change. You punish people for failing to learn and failing to collaborate. You give people the chance to go out and do something with these and change for themselves. You see how I'm now changing this? There's 3 bits here. We also use subjective as an insult. We use it to mean vague, judgmental, personal opinions, without evidence, all those sorts of things. Whereas in fact, subjective means the experience of an individual. Now if they are a high-performing individual, boy, you wouldn't want to know how that really excellent salesperson actually performs and gets 3 times as much out of sales and out of the customers than anybody else. Subjective experience is actually extremely valuable. What do they know? What do they believe? What do they understand? So my second gift to you is to give you a trick to extract that. Because all you do is, where do you want to go? Where are you now? What's the performance gap? What stops you? How are you going to get there? Yeah? What stops you? What do we have to change? You ask that at every perspective. Lo and behold, those 4 questions get you all the way through a strategy map. Simple as that. Slightly more complicated, but that's the essence of it.